Hello, and welcome to Freshman English 1 at Mass Bay Community College. My name is John Donato, and I'll be the professor for the course. I've been teaching at Mass Bay for a number of years, and have been teaching all the English courses there for a number of years as well. Usually we would, if we were in a class, we would spend probably the entire first class going over the syllabus and some of my expectations and things like that. But we really just don't have that luxury. We're in an interesting situation where we have to do things differently. So first thing I want to impress upon all of you is be patient. We're all learning new things, taking courses in new ways. Our lives are different, and we just have to be patient with each other. If you find something wrong with the site or on Blackboard, if you have some question, communicate with me, email me, whatever. Be patient if I don't get right back to you. Have 5-6 courses all online, which take a lot of time. So first thing, be patient. I'll try to be patient with you as well. I'll give you a general overview of the course. I'll go through the site a little bit, what we're doing each week. The first thing I think that my class might be a bit different is that I don't take a literary criticism angle. We don't read a lot of short stories and talk about them, that kind of thing. I know people do that, but I think of the class as a composition course, a writing course. And my focus is mainly on the sentence, on syntax, and especially a syntax called cumulative syntax, where we posit a base clause and then we attach free modifiers to it. So we'll spend a lot of the semester working on the sentence there. So let's go over the syllabus first. And again, this is the kind of thing where we take a whole class to do normally, but we'll just run through it a bit. So I'll be doing some office hours on WebEx. I'll post those or I'll email you those invites. The syllabus obviously has a course description on it. The description of the course has a lot of emphasis on multiple drafts. We'll try some of that perhaps, but it's difficult to get multiple drafts and feedback to people in this kind of setting. There's some student learning outcomes and things that you can read. I have a quote on the syllabus here. I learned a lot and my writing improved a little. It's a quote from a Mass Bay student, not one of mine, but one of my colleague students, and I've always loved the quote, so I put it in my syllabus. And it gets at the essence of our project here. It's actually very difficult to improve our writing. It's a bit like pushing on a glacier. It takes time, it takes effort. You have to be conscious about what you're doing. In the past, I think those courses that treat English composition as sort of a literature course, the idea was you would read great literature or great writing and somehow it would infect your ear and you would get better. And that does happen some. I certainly recommend reading as a way to improve your writing. But we're going to take a more direct approach. So by the end of the course, hopefully you'll learn a lot and your writing will improve more than just a little, but we'll see. That's our goal. I do a lot on sentence maturity, cumulative syntax, free modifiers, a lot about the rhythm of prose, the sound, how it hits the ear. Language is a physical thing, after all. We'll talk about branching in sentences, different types of syntax like periodic and loose, sentence variety. We'll work on some of the theories of Francis Christensen, where we talk about the generative rhetoric of the sentence, that kind of thing. We'll do exercises like sentence completion, sentence combining, sentence imitations. We'll go over writing as a recursive process. Look a little bit at process. Do some feedback for each other. Look at rhetorical situations, rewriting, source-based writing. Most of the writing that you do in college is going to be argumentative, source-based writing. meaning that you're using the work of other people to either support your argument or to articulate counter arguments or as a launching pad for something else that you want to say. So we'll look a little bit at that. We'll look at things like MLA citation, that kind of stuff. There's no textbook for the course, so you don't need to buy a book. I will give you everything and post everything on the site for you. But I think it's a good idea to kind of get maybe a 3-ring binder to put everything in. You're going to be getting certain things each week that you should print out and have. The course basically has 3 main writing assignments: an argumentative source-based paper, a timed writing essay, and a what we're going to call a redux assignment, which I'll post later. We'll also do sentence exercises and discussion questions, things like that. Again, we'll do some stuff on MLA, so you know the citation systems. We won't spend a lot of time on discrete lessons about grammar or anything, but we'll come up again. We'll bump up against those things like run-ons and comma splicing and things like that. But we won't focus explicitly on those for any length of time at all. But there are some things that you do need to know. All right, so go through the syllabus. There's a lot on here about being prepared, all that kind of stuff, timely assignments, staying on task. Please read the academic integrity section carefully of the syllabus. That's the idea of not handing in work that isn't yours, stealing work from other people, plagiarism. That's a problem. If you do that, most students don't, that I found, but every once in a while, every semester, there's usually 1 or 2, and it's a big problem. There's also here resources, disability resources. If you have an accommodation, for example, by all means, let me know, and I'll certainly work with you with that. And then there's a course calendar as well that'll lay out some of the things that we'll do each week. What I think I'm going to be doing is I'll probably give you the first 8 weeks or so with the course calendar, all the assignments and everything that you need to do laid out, and then I'll give you the second half later on. When you get to the site, obviously you got to this video, so you know that the start here is a good place to start. And it gives you a rundown there of things to do. There's also that first assignment is a writing sample. I need a writing sample from each of you, and it tells you all about that under Start Here, and we'll revisit that assignment as well. One thing I wanted to do was go over the weeks. So the course is broken down on the Blackboard site into week 1, week 2, week 3, 15 weeks. So let me go through a week just to kind of talk about what we'll do each week, because there's a pretty standard format for each week. Begins with an overview, a brief description of the week and the work that we'll be doing, maybe some of the themes for the week, that kind of thing. Then it's going to list sort of the learning outcomes, the things that you should be able to do by the end of the week. They'll be listed. And then there's a general folder called Reading, Viewing, Listening, and Learning, where I'll post all sorts of things. Articles to read, chapters from books to read. I'm going to be posting, I have posted a lot of examples from professional writers, little selections or excerpts for you to hear, to educate your ear to prose rhythm. And I've asked you to read those aloud to yourself. So that's in there usually. Videos, podcasts, little descriptions of items, things like that, are all usually in the Reading, Viewing, Listening, and Learning folder. So click on that folder, go through that. Then we have a folder called Sentence Work. Usually that will entail a sentence tool. So each week you'll get a handout on a sentence tool, something that you can use to craft sentences, cumulative syntax, free modification. So mainly they're phrase types, things like appositive phrases or absolute phrases, participial phrases, prepositional phrases. We'll do prompts of comparison, opening and delayed adverbs, all sorts of different tools. And one of the metaphors of the course is the idea of a sentence toolbox, that you are a carpenter, a craftsperson, and you build sentences, and you need tools to build things. The words are the raw material, but the tools that you use determine the kind of sentence that you can make. And we're going to try and make a particular type of sentence, a cumulative sentence, and we're going to try and make longer sentences, write longer sentences, build longer sentences. Most of us can write simple declarative sentences, that sort of subject, verb, object sentence. But reading that kind of sentence in succession, one after another, can be really daunting to the reader. So we're going to work on our sentences quite a bit, and my approach is mainly at the sentence level. We're in pretty good ground, solid ground when we talk about the sentence, because it's been the subject of critical scrutiny for thousands of years. Whereas things like the 5-paragraph essay or the paragraph itself, topic sentences, all those kinds of things that you've probably gone over many, many times in English classes, those are much more modern inventions or conventions. But the sentence, we're on much stronger ground, I think, when we look at the sentence critically. And we can say a lot more about it. And I think that our work is more fruitful if we work at the sentence level. Each week there's also a discussion forum where I'll ask a question or there's a prompt. Sometimes it's to write a certain type of sentence. Sometimes it's to comment on something we've read. So there's a lot of different items in there. And then usually a preview of what the next week will entail at the bottom. So that's the standard setup for the week. Again, 15 weeks. There are, as I think I said, 3 main pieces of writing that you have to pass in to pass the course. You have to make a good faith effort to pass in all 3 of them. An argumentative source-based piece, which I'll give you the assignment for that, and a timed writing piece, which we won't actually take time, but we'll get a packet of readings and we'll get a prompt and we'll do that assignment. And then what I'm calling the redux assignment, which is something where you revisit something you've written. In the weeks also, there are some assignments that are included. So you might have an assignment both within the weekly work, but also in the discussion forums. There might be 1 or 2 things for that week. One thing I want you, again, be patient, is I don't have a lot of time because I have 6 classes or more usually, and it's hard online to respond to everybody. I teach online in the summer, but only 1 course at a time, and it takes quite a bit of time just to deal with 1 course. So again, don't expect so much feedback, but we're going to be doing things. You'll be doing things each week, and they will add into your grade. So there's weekly work, and then there's those 3 main papers that you're responsible for. I think that's the basic idea of the course. Again, it's more of a craft focus than it is a literary analysis focus or anything like that. I'm interested in how your sentences sound, the quality of your prose, and also the quality of your thinking. So we're going to talk a bit about read about, or listen about the importance of thinking. We're not just prose stylists. We're not just writing prettily, but if we can put together great prose and great thinking, that's a dynamite piece of work. One of the things I had to learn when I first started teaching composition, every once in a while I would get a really well-written paper, and it would really perk up and, oh, wow, great. That's a great paper. And one of the things I had to learn was to slow down and to really look at the paper. A lot of times what those papers were students who had writing ability. Maybe they read quite a bit and they could mimic the sound of more mature prose, so their writing sounded good. but their thinking was no deeper or better than anyone else in the class. So the thinking part of that equation wasn't anything special. The writing part was good, but the prose part was good, but the thinking part was weaker. So if we can make both of those strong and high quality, that's a paper that I rarely read, and I would love to read more of those kind of papers. So thinking, writing, putting all that together is our goal. Again, very difficult. It takes conscious, deliberate practice and effort to get better at. And I want to discourage you right from the get-go here not to be a one-and-done paper writer, which is someone who remembers the day they have a paper due, or the night before they have a paper due. They take out the assignment sheet, they kind of go over it and look at it a little bit. They sit down at the keyboard, they pound out a draft, print it, hand it in, that's it. They think they're done. That's not really writing. That's a first draft, maybe, a rough first draft, but it's not something that you should be handing in. So if I could really bring a couple qualities to student process, would be time and effort. You need to take much more time probably with your work and put in more effort. Most of the time students are lacking in it. So we'll go over a lot of different things to help you out. Read chapters on things like the thesis and talk about that. And so there's a lot of different things that we do. Again, you'll watch videos, podcasts, read articles, read chapters from books, a lot of sentence exercises. There'll be a lot of exercises in the handouts that are optional that you can use to practice, but they won't be required necessarily. So my hope is that you really want to improve your writing and that you'll put in the effort to do that. Students will sometimes ask me as they're going out and graduating and going out into the professional world, and how do I stand out? And I think I usually recommend a couple things to them. One of them is to be able to articulate what's in their head, to say things clearly, to speak well, but also to write well. Before I was a teacher, professor, I worked at a public policy think tank, and one of the things we used to do with our final candidates was have them write something for us. And one of the remarkable things to me was how poorly some people wrote who went to really good schools. So if you want to stand out, be able to write, be able to speak well. So that's what we'll work at. It's a hard process. It's slow, but we'll put our shoulder to the glacier and push as hard as we can. So welcome. Great to have you. And I look forward to a wonderful semester together in this odd new world we live in.